The stars looked cold outside the window of the diplomatic ship UES Harmony as it moved slowly toward Kepler's Gate station. Ambassador Catherine Blake stood in her cabin, watching the distant lights grow brighter. She had spent 30 years talking to aliens, making peace between different worlds, but this mission felt different. This one could change everything. Captain Ben Carter's voice came over the ship's speakers. All crew, we will dock at Kepler's Gate in 2 hours. Diplomatic team, please prepare for final briefing. Catherine picked up her tablet and walked to the meeting room. The hallways were quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Crew members nodded respectfully as she passed. Everyone knew how important this mission was. In the briefing room, Commander Lisa Ford was already waiting with the security team. She was a tough woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Next to her sat Dr. Alex Murphy, the ship's doctor, reviewing medical files on his tablet. Ambassador, Lisa said as Catherine entered, I want to go over security one more time. The Zephyrians are not like us. They're tall, made of some kind of crystal material, and they talk using sounds we can barely hear. Our translators work, but sometimes things get lost. Catherine nodded. She had studied the Zephyrians for months. They were beautiful creatures, almost like living glass sculptures that could move and think. First contact with them had gone badly, 20 years ago when human explorers accidentally damaged one of their sacred sites. Since then, both sides had been careful around each other, testing boundaries but never fighting openly. What about their weapons? Asked Lieutenant Pete Johnson, the head of her security detail. Harmonic weapons, Dr. Murphy answered. They use sound waves that can kill. Very precise, very deadly. But they have never used them against humans before. Let's hope it stays that way, Catherine said. We're here to make peace, not fight. 2 hours later, the UES Harmony docked at Kepler's Gate. The station was huge, built by both humans and aliens working together. It floated in empty space between human and Zephyrian territory, a neutral place where different species could meet, safely. Catherine walked through the docking tube with her team behind her. The station's main hall was impressive, with high ceilings and windows showing the stars outside. Other aliens moved through the halls, but everyone stopped to watch the human delegation pass. Station Commander Roy Davis met them at the entrance. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. Ambassador Blake, welcome to Kepler's Gate. The Zephyrians arrived yesterday. They're waiting in Conference Hall 7. How do they seem? Catherine asked as they walked. Nervous, maybe? It's hard to tell with them. They make these humming sounds all the time, could be talking, could be singing. Our translators say it's normal. They reached the conference hall, and Catherine took a deep breath. Through the glass doors, she could see them. 3 Zephyrians stood around a table that looked like it was made of the same crystal material as their bodies. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, and their skin seemed to glow with soft light. When they moved, it was smooth and graceful, like dancers. The lead Zephyrian turned as the humans entered. The translator device on the table made crackling sounds before words came out. I am High Resonant Thisital. You are the human speaker, Catherine Blake. Yes, I am Ambassador Blake. Thank you for coming here to talk with us. The first day went well. They talked about trade, about boundaries between their territories, about accidents that had happened in the past. The Zephyrians were polite but distant. Catherine could tell they were being very careful with their words. That night, she sat in her quarters writing notes. The Zephyrians seemed to want peace, but there was something else, something they weren't saying. She made a note to ask more questions tomorrow. The second day was harder. They talked about the damaged sacred site that had started all the problems. High Resonant Thisital became agitated, making sharp sounds that hurt human ears even through the translator. Your people destroyed something that cannot be replaced, the translator said in a flat voice. How do we trust you will not do this again? We didn't know it was sacred, Catherine replied calmly. We've learned from that mistake. We want to create rules so it never happens again. By the end of the second day, they had made some progress. Not much, but enough to keep talking. On the third day, Catherine woke up feeling sick. Her head hurt, and her stomach felt wrong. She thought about calling Dr. Murphy, but decided to push through. These talks were too important. The morning session went badly. The Zephyrians seemed angry about something, making harsh sounds that the translator couldn't handle properly. High resonant. Thesital kept looking at Catherine strangely, tilting his crystalline head like he was listening to something she couldn't hear. Perhaps we should take a break, Catherine suggested when the noise got too loud. Yes, Thesital agreed quickly. We must consult among ourselves. Catherine went back to her quarters feeling worse. The headache was getting stronger and now her chest felt tight. She lay down on her bed, thinking she would rest for just a few minutes. She never woke up. Dr. Murphy found her that evening when she didn't answer her door. He ran every test he could think of, but the results made no sense. Catherine Blake, healthy 50-year-old woman, was dead. Her body looked normal from the outside, but inside, her organs had been turned to liquid. This is impossible, Murphy told Captain Carter. I've never seen anything like it. It's like something vibrated her insides apart. Commander Ford was already checking the security cameras, but half the files were corrupted. Strange electronic noise had damaged the recordings just around the time Catherine had returned to her quarters. The Zephyrians, Ford said grimly. Their harmonic weapons work exactly like this. Sound waves that destroy from the inside. Captain Carter called an emergency meeting. The remaining diplomatic team, the ship's officers, and station security all crowded into the briefing room. The mood was dark and angry. The question is simple, Carter said. Was this murder? High-resonant Thesital denied everything when they confronted him. The tall alien made urgent sounds that the translator turned into protests of innocence. We do not kill those who come in peace. This is not our way. Then explain how she died from harmonic damage, Ford demanded. We cannot. We know nothing of this death. But Thesital refused to let human investigators examine Zephyrian equipment or question his delegation properly. Within hours, the alien ship was preparing to leave. You leave now, and it looks like guilt, Carter warned. The Zephyrians. Response came through the translator as a series of complex sounds that roughly meant, the song ends where it began. Then they were gone, disappearing into space toward their home territory. Captain Carter stood in the conference hall, looking at the empty chair where Catherine Blake had sat just hours before. His crew was angry, demanding action. Station personnel were nervous, wondering if war was coming. He opened a communication channel to Earth Command and spoke the words that would change everything. This is Captain Carter of the UES Harmony. Ambassador Blake is dead, killed by alien weapons. Request. Immediate instructions regarding response to this act of war. The emergency meeting room in Earth Command was packed with the most powerful people in human space. Admiral Richard Stone sat at the head of the long metal table, his weathered face showing the strain of 3 sleepless days. Around him, generals, admirals, and politicians argued in voices that grew louder by the hour. They murdered her in cold blood. General Patricia Wells slammed her hand on the table. Catherine Blake was the best diplomat we had, and they killed her like she was nothing. This was planned, calculated, designed to humiliate us. President, Daniel Hayes rubbed his tired eyes. He had known Catherine personally, had sent her on this mission believing it would bring peace. Now she was dead, and half the human colonies were calling for war. We need to be careful here. One wrong move and we could start a conflict that kills millions. Mr. President, with respect, they already started it, Wells replied. Our intelligence shows Zephyrian ships moving near our borders. They knew this would happen. They wanted this to happen. Intelligence Director Kevin Price stood up and activated the large screen on the wall. Star maps appeared showing the positions of various fleets. Red dots marked Zephyrian forces. Blue dots showed human ships. These images were taken yesterday. Look at Sector 7, near the Meridian system. The screen zoomed in on a cluster of red dots. 3 Zephyrian battle groups moving toward our territory. They started moving before Catherine was even dead. They planned this whole thing. Nancy White, the president's chief advisor, shook her head. That could be normal patrol movements. We can't assume hostile intent based on ship positions alone. Normal? General Wells laughed bitterly. Nancy, they killed our ambassador with a weapon that turns human organs into soup. What part of that seems normal to you? Admiral Stone had been quiet through most of the argument, but now he spoke. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of 40 years in the military. I've been fighting aliens for most of my adult life. I've seen species that negotiate from strength and species that negotiate from fear. The Zephyrians just showed us which one they are. He stood up and walked to the star map. They didn't kill Catherine by accident. They didn't kill her in anger. They killed her to send a message. The message is simple. Humans don't matter enough to keep alive. The room fell quiet. President Hayes looked around the table at faces filled with anger and determination. What are our options? Admiral Stone touched a control, and the screen changed to show human fleet positions. We have 12 battle groups spread across our territory. I can have them assembled into a single strike force within a week. We call it Task Force Retribution. How many ships? The president asked. 237 combat vessels. The largest human fleet ever assembled. General Wells leaned forward. What about the new weapons? Project Hellfire? Admiral Stone nodded grimly. We have 6 ships equipped with plasma lance technology. Experimental, but our tests show they can cut through Zephyrian crystal hulls like a hot knife through butter. President Hayes was quiet for a long moment. Outside the windows of the command center, he could see Earth spinning slowly below them. Cities full of people who trusted him to keep them safe. Kevin, what's the public mood? The intelligence director pulled up new displays. Protests in every major city. Colony worlds are activating their militias. Sam Davis, the factory worker who organized the memorial for Catherine, now has 3 million people signed up for his support rallies. Linda Clark on New Boston Colony is demanding we send her farmers to fight. The people want war. Nancy White said quietly. I've never seen anything like it. Usually we have to convince them to support military action. This time, they're demanding it. Admiral Stone walked back to his seat. Mr. President, I won't lie to you. This will be bloody. The Zephyrians have never faced determined human resistance. They think their crystal ships and harmonic weapons make them untouchable. But humans don't give up, and we don't forget when someone murders our people. What about casualties? Hayes asked. Unknown. Could be thousands. Could be hundreds of thousands. But if we don't respond to this, every alien species in the galaxy will think they can kill human diplomats without consequences. We'll never be safe again. The president looked around the room one more time. Every face showed the same expression. They had made their decision before the meeting even started. All in favor of military action? Every hand went up. Even Nancy White, who had argued for restraint, raised her hand slowly. Admiral Stone, you have command of Task Force Retribution. Your mission is to make the Zephyrians pay for what they did to Catherine Blake. As the meeting broke up, Admiral Stone stayed behind with his senior staff. Captain Jake Russell, who would command the heavy cruiser UES Warhammer, studied the tactical displays. Admiral, the Zephyrians fight differently than us. They use coordinated movements like a dance, very pretty, very precise. Pretty doesn't stop plasma lances, Stone replied. Commander Thompson, what about stealth operations? Amy Thompson commanded the destroyer UES Shadow, one of the newest stealth ships in the fleet. We can get close without them detecting us. Their harmonic sensors don't pick up our new hull coating. Hit-and-run tactics should work well. Good. Jake, your battle group will be the hammer. Amy, yours will be the knife. We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we don't stop until they surrender the people who killed Catherine. Within days, human ships began moving. Colony worlds watched, their protector fleets depart, heading towards Zephyrian space. On Earth, factories worked around the clock to build more weapons, more ammunition, more ships. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Vengeance, as the massive fleet assembled in space around Jupiter. 237 ships carrying the hopes and anger of every human in the galaxy. The communications officer handed him a message pad. "Sir, transmission coming in from across our territory. Colonies, cities, space stations. They all want to send the same message." Stone read the pad and smiled grimly. Thousands of separate communications. But they all said the same thing. "Give them hell, Admiral. Make them pay for Catherine." He activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice reached every ship, every crew member, every Marine preparing for battle. "This is Admiral Stone. We are about to do something that has never been done before. We are going to show an alien species what happens when they murder human diplomats." The bridge crew stood straighter. Around the fleet, thousands of humans prepared for war. The Zephyrians think they know us. They think humans are weak, that will back down when threatened. They killed Catherine Blake to test that theory. Now they're going to learn the truth about humanity. He paused, looking out at the stars that led toward enemy territory. "We don't start wars, but when someone else starts one with us, we finish it. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump. It's time to give them an answer they'll never forget." The largest fleet in human history turned toward Zephyrian space, carrying fire and fury toward an enemy that had underestimated what it meant to be human. The first battle happened at Meridian System, where 3 Zephyrian patrol groups tried to stop the human advance. Captain Jake Russell watched from the bridge of the UES Warhammer as enemy ships appeared on his screens. They were beautiful, like flying pieces of art made from crystal and light. "Enemy contacts, 12 ships," his weapons officer reported. "They're moving into formation." Russell had fought pirates and rebels before, but never aliens. The Zephyrian ships moved together, like dancers, spinning and weaving through space in perfect harmony. Their hulls glowed with soft colors that shifted and changed as they prepared for battle. "All ships, this is Russell. Remember, these are the people who killed Ambassador Blake. Show them what humans do to murderers." The Zephyrian ships fired. First, waves of harmonic energy rippled through space, hitting human shields with sounds that made the hull vibrate. But human ships were built for war, not beauty. The shields held. "Return fire, all weapons," Russell ordered. The new plasma lances lit up space with streams of white-hot energy. The experimental weapons had been tested against metal targets, but never against living crystal. The results were devastating. The first Zephyrian ship simply exploded, its crystal hull shattering into 1,000,000 glowing pieces. "Direct hit," the weapons officer called out, his voice filled with surprise. Their hull just broke apart. 2 more Zephyrian ships died in the next minute. The plasma lances cut through their beautiful crystal armor like it was made of glass. The remaining enemy ships tried to retreat, but human missiles were faster. Within 10 minutes, all 12 Zephyrian vessels were destroyed. Russell looked at the debris field floating in space. Pieces of crystal ships caught the light from the nearby star, creating a field of deadly rainbows. "Damage report. Minor shield damage on 3 ships. No casualties." "None?" Russell couldn't believe it. "We just destroyed 12 alien warships, and nobody got hurt?" Meanwhile, Commander Amy Thompson was leading a different kind of attack. Her stealth destroyer UES Shadow had slipped past Zephyrian sensors and was now deep in enemy territory. The new hull coating made her ship invisible to harmonic detection, and Zephyrian eyes couldn't see in the same light spectrum as humans. "Target is a supply depot," she told her crew. "Intelligence says they store weapons there, including the harmonic devices they use to kill the ambassador." The Shadow approached the Zephyrian station slowly. It was another work of art, with curved walls, that spiraled up into space like a frozen tornado. Hundreds of crystal ships were docked around it, taking on supplies and weapons. "All ships are civilian," her tactical officer reported. "No military escorts." Thompson felt a moment of doubt. These weren't the ships that had killed Catherine Blake, but they were supplying the weapons that could kill more humans. "Fire on the weapons storage areas only. Avoid the civilian sections." The Shadow's missiles struck the station with precision. Explosions bloomed along the outer ring where weapons were stored, but the inner sections where Zephyrians lived and worked remained untouched. The station began to break apart slowly, its crystal structure cracking along natural lines. Civilian. Ships fled in all directions, carrying word of the attack back to Zephyrian Command. But by the time reinforcements arrived, the shadow was already gone, jumping to hyperspace like a ghost. Admiral Stone watched the reports coming in from across the front lines. Every engagement was going the same way. Human weapons destroyed Zephyrian ships easily, while Zephyrian harmonic weapons barely scratched human armor. "It's not even close," his intelligence officer reported. "We've destroyed over 60 enemy ships and lost only 2 of our own. The Zephyrians are retreating from every system we attack." But Stone wasn't celebrating. Something felt wrong about this war. The Zephyrians were supposed to be advanced, dangerous, yet they fought like they had never seen real combat before. "Get me a connection to Captain Russell," he ordered. Russell's face appeared on the screen, showing the bridge of his ship. Behind him, crew members were celebrating another victory. "Admiral, we just took the Centauri outpost. Enemy resistance was minimal." "Jake, what did you see during the fighting? How did they act?" Russell thought for a moment. "Strange, sir. Their ships are beautiful and they move perfectly together. But when we started shooting back, they seemed surprised, like they expected us to just give up after taking a few hits." "Any sign of the faction that killed Blake?" "Negative, sir. These seem to be regular military units. They keep sending the same harmonic message over and over. Our translators say it means something like, 'Why do you not listen to the Song of Peace?'" Stone frowned. Either the Zephyrians were very good actors, or something else was going on here. "Continue the advance, but be careful. I want prisoners for questioning." The breakthrough came when Intelligence Officer Grace Turner intercepted Zephyrian communications. She had been working around the clock to break their harmonic language, using the battle recordings to understand their speech patterns. "Admiral," she called out excitedly, "I've got something. The Zephyrians aren't unified. There are at least 2 different factions and they're arguing with each other." Stone hurried over to her workstation. "What kind of argument?" "One group keeps saying things like, 'The pure song must be preserved and lesser voices must be silenced.' The other group is saying, 'The harmony is broken, and this was not the way.'" "2 factions," Stone murmured. "Could one of them have killed Blake without the others knowing?" "It's possible, sir. The first group calls themselves something that translates as pure resonance. They seem to be more aggressive, more militant. The second group appears to be the mainstream government. This changed everything. If a rebel faction had killed Catherine Blake to start a war, then the human fleet might be fighting the wrong enemy, but they had come too far to stop now. The climax came when Task Force Retribution reached the outer edge of the Zephyrian home system. The entire enemy fleet was waiting for them, hundreds of crystal ships arranged in perfect defensive formations around their homeworld. The planet itself was beautiful beyond description. Crystal cities floated in orbit around a world that glowed with soft light. Billions of Zephyrians lived there, most of whom had probably never heard of humans before this war started. "Sir," Turner reported from her station, "I'm picking up massive civilian populations. If we attack with full force, the casualties will be enormous." Stone stared out at the enemy fleet. Somewhere among those ships were the killers who had murdered Catherine Blake. But there were also innocent civilians who had done nothing wrong. Captain Oliver Brooks commanded the assault carrier UES Thunderstrike. His pilots were ready to launch, eager to finish this war. "Admiral, we can break their lines in one coordinated attack. My squadron leader Maria Santos has the whole strike planned out." "Hold position," Stone ordered. He opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. "This is Admiral Stone of the Human Defense Fleet. We are here to find the murderers of Ambassador Catherine Blake. Surrender them to us, and this war can end." The response came in harmonic tones that the translator turned into words. But the voice was different from what they had heard before, calmer, sadder. "I am Harmony Keeper Lysandra of the Zephyrian Council. We know why you have come. The one you seek is war singer Kethval of the Pure Resonance. He killed your ambassador to start this conflict, believing only through war could our species prove their worth. Stone felt a mix of relief and anger. They had been right. A militant faction had started this war by murdering an innocent diplomat. Where is this Kethval now? He leads the Pure Resonance Fleet, the ships with the darker crystal hulls. They break from our main formation even now, seeking to continue this fight. But know this, Human Admiral, if you destroy our world to reach him, you become no better than he is. Stone watched as a section of the enemy fleet separated from the main group. Those ships were different, their crystal hulls darker and more angular. They moved with aggressive purpose toward the human fleet. The final battle was about to begin. The Pure Resonance Fleet charged toward the human ships like angry hornets. Their dark crystal hulls gleamed with malicious light as they broke away from the main Zephyrian formation. Warsinger Kethval's flagship led the attack, a massive vessel that looked like a black diamond carved into the shape of death. Admiral Stone watched them approach on his tactical display. 37 ships against his entire fleet. The odds were impossible, but these were the fanatics who had murdered Catherine Blake. They would fight to the last ship. All units, this is Stone. The ships approaching us are the enemy faction responsible for Ambassador Blake's death. Show them what happens when you kill human diplomats. Captain Jake Russell's heavy cruiser UES Warhammer moved to intercept, his plasma lances charged with white-hot energy, ready to cut through crystal hulls. This is for Catherine, he muttered, as his weapons locked onto the nearest enemy ship. The battle began with a fury that shook space itself. Pure resonance ships fired their harmonic weapons in coordinated waves, creating deadly sound patterns that could shatter human bones. But human ships were built tough, designed to survive in the harshest environments. The shields held against the alien assault. Russell's plasma lances answered with streams of superheated plasma that sliced through the lead enemy ship like a sword through paper. The dark crystal hull exploded in a shower of deadly fragments that sparkled against the stars. First kill confirmed, his weapons officer reported. Enemy ship destroyed. But the Pure Resonance forces were different from the regular Zephyrian military. They fought with desperate courage, accepting massive losses to get close to human ships. When their harmonic weapons failed to penetrate human armor, they tried ramming attacks using their crystal hulls as battering rams. Captain Oliver Brooks commanded the assault carrier UES Thunderstrike, and his fighters were now in the thick of the battle. Squadron leader Maria Santos led her pilots through the enemy formation, dodging harmonic blasts and firing missiles into crystal ships. This is Santos to all fighters. These ships are tougher than the others. Concentrate fire on the joints between hull sections. That's where the crystal is weakest. Her squadron destroyed 3 enemy ships in quick succession, but the Pure Resonance forces kept coming. They seemed to have no fear of death, only hatred for the humans who had invaded their space. Meanwhile, Admiral Stone received an unexpected message. Harmony Keeper Lysandra, the moderate Zephyrian leader, was requesting a private communication channel. Admiral Stone, her voice came through the translator with urgent tones. I offer you something that could end this battle quickly. Warsinger Kethval's flagship has a weakness, his pride. He will accept a challenge to single combat if it is offered properly. Stone frowned. Why would you help us? Because Kethval destroyed any chance for peace between our species. He killed your ambassador to prove that violence was the only way. If he wins this battle, he will rule our people through fear. We cannot allow that. What do you want in return? Mercy for our civilians. Proof that humans can be honorable in victory as well as deadly in war. Stone looked at the battle raging outside his ship. His forces were winning, but at a cost. 2 human ships had been badly damaged, and the Pure Resonance forces were fighting like cornered animals. A quick end to the fighting would save lives, on both sides. Tell me about this single combat challenge. While Stone talked with Lysandra, Commander Amy Thompson's stealth destroyer UES Shadow was making a dangerous run through the enemy formation. Her mission was to get close to Kethval's flagship and gather intelligence on the war criminal who had started this whole conflict. Target acquired, Thompson reported to her crew. That's the biggest, ugliest crystal ship I've ever seen. Kethval's flagship was truly massive, 3 times the size of a normal Zephyrian vessel. Its dark crystal hull was covered with harmonic weapon arrays that could probably destroy a city. But Thompson's stealth systems kept her invisible as she approached. "I'm reading massive harmonic distortions from that ship," her science officer reported. "Whatever weapons they have on there, they're unlike anything we've seen before. Can you penetrate their hull with our sensors?" "Working on it, I got it. Admiral, you need to see this. There are human prisoners aboard that ship." Thompson's blood ran cold. "Prisoners? How many?" "At least a dozen life signs that match human biology. They're being held in the lower section of the ship." This changed everything. Kethval hadn't just killed Ambassador Blake. He had been capturing humans, probably torturing them for information about human military capabilities. Thompson immediately sent the intelligence back to Admiral Stone. When he received the news, his face turned grim with controlled fury. "Signal the Pure Resonance flagship," Stone ordered his communications officer. "I want to speak to Warsinger Kethval directly." The reply came quickly. Kethval's voice was harsh and grating, even through the translator. "I am Warsinger Kethval, voice of the Pure Resonance. You humans have proven to be more violent than we expected. Good. Only through conflict can true strength be measured. You murdered Ambassador Catherine Blake in cold blood," Stone replied. "You've been taking human prisoners. I'm here to make you pay for those crimes. Your soft ambassador died because she was weak. Your species is weak. But you fight better than we thought. This pleases me." Stone felt disgust rise in his throat. This creature took pleasure in murder and torture. "I challenge you to single combat. Your flagship against mine. Winner takes all." There was a long pause. Then Kethval laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You wish to prove human honor through combat? Very well. I accept. But know this, human admiral. When I destroy your ship, I will make the rest of your fleet watch as I execute every human prisoner aboard my vessel." The two flagships broke away from the main battle and faced each other in empty space. Stone's UES Vengeance was a powerful human battleship, armed with the latest weapons, and protected by heavy armor. Kethval's ship was larger but built for a different kind of warfare. "All weapons lock onto the enemy flagship," Stone ordered. "This is for Catherine Blake and every human this monster has hurt." The two ships fired at the same time. Harmonic. Waves crashed against human shields while plasma lances struck dark crystal armor. The enemy ship's hull cracked but held, while the Vengeance shook under the assault of alien weapons. But human engineering proved superior. Stone's ship had been built to fight, while Kethval's vessel was designed more for intimidation than actual combat. The plasma lances found weak points in the crystal structure and began cutting deep into the enemy hull. "Enemy ship is venting atmosphere," the tactical officer reported. "Their harmonic arrays are failing." Kethval's final transmission was filled with rage and disbelief. "Impossible. The pure song cannot be defeated by lesser voices." "You're wrong," Stone replied. "You picked a fight with the wrong species." The Pure Resonance flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Warsinger Kethval and his fanatical followers died as they had lived, in violence and hatred. With their leader dead, the remaining Pure Resonance ships surrendered quickly. The moderate Zephyrians, led by Harmony Keeper Lysandra, immediately began negotiations for peace. 3 months later, Admiral Stone stood in the same conference hall on Kepler's Gate, where Ambassador Catherine Blake had been murdered. This time, the mood was very different. Human and Zephyrian representatives worked together to sign a formal peace treaty. A memorial to Catherine Blake was unveiled, made from both human metal and Zephyrian crystal. The inscription read simple words that both species could understand. "She died seeking peace. Her memory lights the way forward." Lysandra approached Stone after the ceremony. "Your species surprised us, Admiral. You showed mercy when you could have chosen revenge." Stone looked at the memorial, thinking of the woman who had believed diplomacy could solve any problem. Catherine would have wanted it this way. She always said the best victory is the one where everyone goes home alive. The war that began with murder had ended with justice. Humanity had answered with fire when challenged, but chose mercy when victory was won. In the years that followed, humans and Zephyrians would work together among the stars, building the peace that Catherine Blake had died trying to create.